How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. This is PSReady, my channel all about PlayStation. We're starting out with the topic that's just kind of a bummer. PS5 Pro patches are still causing problems. Second on the list, I need to ask you a question. Do you even play video games? And third, we got the details on my first Gran Turismo, and at the time you're seeing this video, it's out now and it seems really cool. So you should check it out if you don't have Gran Turismo 7. This video is sponsored by Scry. You guys know who Scry is at this point. They're the longtime sponsors of PSReady, and they're back with two new great products. First up, there's the Arctic AI PS5 cooler starting at $39. Then you've got the Nitro Flash PS5 heatsink SSDs, which start at $129. There's three key things that are new and upgraded with the coolers though. First, there's the Smart Thermal AI chip, which will monitor the PS5's heat output and adjust the fan speed accordingly. So if you ever hit 50 degrees Celsius, the fans will kick to maximum and then gradually decrease their speed once you drop below 49 degrees Celsius. Then you've got the Dynamic Hyperfluid fan, which is patented. This thing will monitor your PS5's heat and adjust its fan speed accordingly, and it's made for optimal noise levels. And third, there's Lamella design for maximum airflow. This patented design covers the most surface area possible on your PlayStation 5 to ensure that no air gets trapped inside your console. And there's four key benefits to using a cooler with your PlayStation 5. First, it optimizes airflow, so any heat that's in your console will be expelled through the back, which will keep your console cool. Second, it'll protect and extend the lifespan of your PlayStation 5 by protecting the components from being overheated. That will make them work and last a lot longer. Third, it prevents shutdowns from your console overheating because none of the hot air will actually be trapped inside your PS5. And fourth, it'll extend your playtime because if your parts are cool, you'll be at max performance longer. And the best part is these things will keep working even when your console is in rest mode. The Arctic V2 will take 2 to 3 minutes to slow down its fans, and the Arctic S will take 3 to 5 minutes because the vents on the PS5 Slim are smaller, so it takes a little bit longer to get that heat out. When you're ready to check out all these great new products from Scry, click the link in the description. Once again, huge shout out to Scry for sponsoring this video. All right, let's jump into the first topic here, which is that the PS5 Pro has gotten more patches and these patches are still causing problems. I just must have gotten really lucky with the games I chose to play because I've been having a great experience with the PS5 Pro. Space Marine 2, even though it doesn't have its actual PS5 Pro patch yet, runs and looks better on the PlayStation 5 Pro than on the regular PS5, and I've been sinking more and more hours into it. Hogwarts Legacy is like the coolest thing I've ever played on a console. Like, yeah, the gameplay is very baby oriented, like it's for little goo goo gaga kids, but like when you're just running around the Hogwarts world, it's excellent, and having it be pretty much a locked 60 FPS all the time with good resolution and great graphic settings is awesome. And Gran Turismo 7, one of my favorite games ever, it's so good. It just looks and runs phenomenal with PSSR using ray tracing in performance mode. So those three games are excellent, and you'll never believe this, but the other developers that are third party are the ones where we're seeing all these problems. I'll touch on it briefly. The first one to have major problems was Jedi Survivor, which I know, shocking, the game that took over a year to be in releasable state. Once they released the PS4 version, it was finally deemed finished. That one has artifacting, shimmering, and low resolution textures when it's using PSSR. Silent Hill 2, I can't really defend Sony against that one because it's a second party exclusive and the PS5 Pro version makes it look and run worse, which is a huge bummer. And unfortunately, one of my favorite studios, Bloober Team, seems to have just dipped. They're not saying anything, and they have not fixed that crappy PS5 Pro patch yet, which blows. But the biggest culprit of problems with PlayStation 5 Pro is Ubisoft. Of course, Ubisoft cannot dodge problems. They're shutting down the X-Defiant studio. They're having issues with Star Wars Outlaws only selling 1,000 copies on Steam. And speaking of Star Wars Outlaws, the PS5 Pro patch makes the game look and run not great, especially compared to the PS5. And now Digital Foundry is back testing Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and wouldn't you believe it, that game is having the exact same issue. The PSSR implementation is causing shimmering, it's causing artifacting, it's causing low resolutions, and it's just not looking great. I've seen a lot of people, of course, on Twitter from the Xbox side of the fence on the PS5 Pro itself and PSSR and Sony for this. I really don't think it's their fault. I think it's the developer's fault. You know, Sony said, hey, we're releasing the PS5 Pro, here's PSSR, you can figure out how it works, spend some time with it. We know they sent the PS5 Pro out way early, like people have had it for this entire year, and it seems like once the developers actually got the console and access to PSSR, they said, oh, cool, and then they let it sit for like 9 months, and then a week before the console came out, they just threw together together a PS5 Pro patch, didn't test it, and were crossing their fingers that it actually worked, and lo and behold, it caused problems. And the reasoning I have for that is, of course, that if you look at games that Sony made that use PSSR, like Gran Turismo 7, for example, magically those games are able to use it effectively, and in those cases, it looks as good, if not better, than DLSS. Not even FSR, which, you know, that's like on the floor level bar to clear because FSR sucks so bad, but it looks as good as the best version of upscaling that you can get on PC. So like, if developers can figure it out, I don't think it's really Sony's problem, right? Or it's not, it is Sony's problem. They got to talk to these developers and say like, hey, here's how to do it. Here's how to fix up this implementation of PSSR, but it's not really worth being mad at Sony about because it's very clearly, once again, developers not finishing their work before they turn it in. Like, I don't know, you went to school probably if you're American. If you completed half of a test and turned it in, would you expect to get an A? I don't think so. I think you'd expect at maximum like a C minus, probably a D, and you'd be like, wow, maybe if I finished my work, I'd get a better grade on it, right? And it keeps happening with games where these games get released unfinished and like they have major graphical issues, they have major frame rate issues, they are missing content. Like Star Wars Outlaws, they sold a $120 version of that game. Like people who wanted to pay $70 instead of $120, you know, they said you have to restart the game because there's a save breaking bug that we fixed, and if you use this new patch, the bug will still be there, so you have to restart the game even though we gave you over a week to play it and you theoretically could be at the end of the game. Sorry, we didn't finish our work before we charged you more to play the game, and yeah, you're SOL. Like, that's the situation that we're dealing with repeatedly over and over again. And then the developers don't take a look in the mirror and say, maybe we should finish our games before we release them. They say, oh, it's the gamer's fault. They should take what we give them and not complain. And obviously I disagree. So when you look at games like Avatar and Star Wars Outlaws, like here's the best way to do it. Like right now, I'm gonna point a gun at your head, not in real life, YouTube. That was a joke. Well, it's a metaphor. And I'm going to say, give me 2 developers right now off the top of your head where you have to guess which developers would have issues implementing PSSR. Not issues technologically, issues because they saved it till the last minute and then just threw it in the game. I feel like 99% of people who are tuned into the gaming ecosystem would pick Ubisoft and EA, right? Like there's a pattern. They do this repeatedly and they're like, I don't know why no one's buying our games. Like it's because you don't finish them. So now it's created this issue where Sony has to go and figure this out with them, I guess. I just hope it gets fixed soon because just like with Star Wars Outlaws, where they're like, give us $120 and then delete your save, Sony said, give us $700 and get a console that supposedly runs games better, but when you actually do it with half the games that get patches for it, they're going to look worse than they did before. A lot of people are demanding that they just give back the regular PS5 mode to the PS5 Pro. So if the patches, you know, don't look and run correctly in Pro mode, you can run the game in PS5 mode and then get the higher horsepower from the PS5 Pro. I think that's a good middle ground until this can be figured out, but yeah, don't come down too hard on PSSR. We've seen it implemented correctly. I think again, it's the developer's fault. It's not Sony's fault. Anyway, that brings us to the second news story here, which is covering a new research report that says you don't play games, you just watch them. This new report from a marketing research company says that gamers, us, spend 7.4 hours a week playing games, but they spend 8.5 hours a week watching people play games. And the whole framework of this was not to say, hey, nobody's playing your games. It was to say, hey, if you're marketing games, don't just stop when the game is released with trailers and everything like that. Figure out a way to implement video of games into your marketing more, because that's obviously what people are doing instead of playing games. And, you know, at first it seems like you could sensationalize it and say no one's playing games, but like when I'm working, when I'm editing, I've got a TV over there. I throw gameplay videos on YouTube all the time. I don't know why I never thought of this, but my friend Jake from Game Ranks, he was like, oh, while I was working the other day, I threw on a full playthrough with no commentary of Silent Hill 1. And I was like, I should do that. So that's what I've been doing throughout the day. So yeah, I do end up watching just as much, if not a little bit more, gameplay videos than I actually do playing games sometimes, because I'm spending so much time editing videos. It's not that I want to watch stuff more than I want to play it. It's that I need time to play games, and it's easier to throw on a gameplay video when I'm working than it is to play games when I'm working. I can't edit and play Kingdom Come on my Steam Deck at the same time, you know? But the fact that people aren't finishing games is nothing nothing new, especially with the advent of PS Plus Extra and Game Pass Ultimate. I mean, if you're downloading a game for free, chances are you're more likely to not finish it because you didn't really pay for it. You paid for a subscription service and got the game for free. It's the same phenomenon you see with Netflix, where they count a view as watching like 1 second or something of a thing that you click on. And then if you click off after 13 seconds, they still count that as a view, because when you're getting stuff for free, there's less of an investment and you don't feel like you actually have to see the stuff through. I did see a developer talking about this, really resonated with me. They were like, we got to figure out how to make games more playable, right? Like we got to figure out why people aren't finishing games, and soon, because, you know, if you go see Megalopolis at the movie theater, which is by Francis Ford Coppola, I mean, 99% of the people who watch that movie are not getting up and walking out halfway through. Even if the movie is bad, like Megalopolis, you pay your money for a movie ticket and you end up watching the entire movie. And I understand and agree that they need to figure out a way to do that with gaming. I mean, a big problem with it is that games are kind of bloated and over long lately. And I get why, because people say, oh, you know, I don't want to pay $70 for a 20-hour game. I want more time for my money. So developers kind of bust their ass to make the games big and bloated and everything like that. But I do think there's room in the world for shorter games, you know, like, as someone who does not have a lot of time on my plate to just sit down and play RPGs for 12 hours a day like I did in college and high school, I love games like Ghost of Tsushima that you can beat in 20 or 30 hours. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting that people spend a lot of time watching gaming on YouTube, clearly because you watch my videos, and my watch time lately has been pretty good, so thank you. Anyway, that brings me to the third news story here, which is just a PSA that My First Gran Turismo is out, and I thought this was going to be like a very light version of Gran Turismo, but it's actually like a pretty good meaty experience. It's mostly content from Gran Turismo 7 just packed down into like a glorified demo, but there's a lot of stuff you can unlock in this. So if you're looking for, you know, something to see if you like Gran Turismo or not before you drop the $30 or $70 on it that it costs when it's not on sale, this is a great way to try it out. The coolest thing is that it has a full suite of license tests. You guys know, if you've been watching the channel this year, that I went deep on the license tests in Gran Turismo 7, and I got the gold trophy. I always say platinum because of platinum trophies. I got the gold in all of them, which took a very long time. I think I spent like 40 or 50 hours doing it, and I was a better racer by the end of it. So those license tests are nothing to joke about. And it even brings along PSVR 2 support. So yeah, it's completely free. It's out right now. I can't recommend checking it out enough. I mean, Forza used to be a competitor to Gran Turismo, but Forza Motorsport is bad. I don't know why that game took 6 years to make with how limited in content and quality it is, but Gran Turismo consistently puts out a great product. And while, yeah, you know, they don't have the big breadth of tracks and insane graphics that something like Forza has, they have a quality product. And I think that's what matters more at the end of the day, because I feel like that's one of the only games in recent memory where I paid full price for it to get it on disc, and I got my money's worth just from doing the license tests. I mean, that's the campaign of the game, that and the menus. And once you do that, there's even more stuff to do. Like, you can do the time attacks, you can build up your credits and collect all the cars. It's awesome. So yeah, I know it's a bit of a niche game because people aren't all into cars like I am, but it's a free version of Gran Turismo. You should definitely try it out, because that's what actually got me into the series back in the day. GT5 Prologue was free to download on the PS3 when they released it for the first little bit there before they physically released it and charged like $20 for it. And I was like, what is this? So I downloaded it on my PS3 and I sunk hours into it. It was awesome. But anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you in today's video. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and shape on.